Hey everybody, Jake here. Welcome back to Movie Smoothie, where today we are doing our very first ranking video, ranking all 6 of the Jurassic Park and or World films. I'm very excited to get into this, but first, if you guys could like this video and subscribe to Movie Smoothie, I would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so make it happen. Let's do it. Let's get this thing done. So, before I get into ranking all these movies, I want to preface this by saying that I absolutely love all of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films. Even though, yes, I have dogged on a few of them in the past, I still really love all 6 of these movies. I mean, they are just so near and dear to my heart. I don't know. I don't know where I would be in this world without all 6 of these films. They're truly just something special, but I do have my criticisms, and I'm very excited to get into all of it. So, also, leave me your ranking down in the comments below. How would you rank these movies? Because I feel like everyone's kind of got a different take on it, and that's totally okay. It is only love and positivity here on pages like Movie Smoothie and KillJoy Jake. That is the only kind of thing we like to preach around here. So getting into this, in the last spot, last but not least, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I really do like this film, but it is kind of my least favorite of the bunch. I have a few positive things I want to say about it, though. I think the island and the stuff on the boat is all really great. There's some really intense action sequences and some really emotional moments, especially this shot of when the entire island is getting just decimated by a volcanic eruption, and you see this Bronchiosaurus. I think that's what it is. I'm not a dino expert, unfortunately. I'm not Alan Grant, so don't come to me with dinosaur facts or anything. I don't know. I know nothing about that. My knowledge of dinosaurs is Jurassic Park, and that's about it. So there's something with a long neck, I'm assuming a Bronchiosaurus, standing on a port, and you just see it like get it's completely taken over by, overwhelmed with smoke and like the volcanic eruption, and it's just so sad. It's really like, oh my god, these poor animals, they're just dying on this island. They tried to save as many as they could, but you know, it's just wasn't gonna happen. It's really emotional, and there's some really good stuff here. I love all the new characters as well in this film, especially like the good guys, and my one problem with this though is, and one more thing I really do love is there's an homage to Nosferatu in the third act, which I really enjoyed. That was a really cool little reference. As a horror fan, I really appreciated that. But oddly enough, when this movie turns into a horror movie in the second half, third act, whatever, that's kind of when it loses me a little bit. I feel like that it's just a wild shift in tone that feels almost inappropriate, and it's just kind of strange. This is the part of the movie that just doesn't feel like a Jurassic film to me when they're auctioning off dinosaurs. It seems like something on paper that would be so cool, but the way it's executed just feels kind of strange to me. It's odd. It's not. It just feels off. There's something about it. I can't even put my finger on it. It just feels off to me. The Indoraptor also is just kind of, I don't know. There's so many things wrong with the Indoraptor. It's a cross between the Indominus Rex and a Velociraptor, but like, didn't they explain in the last movie that the Indominus Rex is like it can smell you from like a mile away and all that, and then we have Chris Pratt just like standing in like that closet or whatever, that little terrarium thing, and like the Indoraptor has no idea where he's at. Like, what? I don't know. There's so many little instances like that I just feel like were missed opportunities and kind of lazy writing with this film. And there's a lot of things towards the ending as well that I have problems with. Ian Malcolm also is just in this film and like in a courtroom, and it randomly just cuts to him, and it has nothing to do with the overall plot. Like, he's just kind of talking about chaos theory. Maybe one of the worst treatments of legacy characters I've ever seen in a requel, and I don't know, did not care for that at all. I have a different opinion about Jurassic World Dominion, which we will get to in a sec. But moving on, because I don't want to trash talk that film. I still really enjoyed Fallen Kingdom, just not my favorite. Coming in 5th place, which I think will shock a lot of people, is Jurassic World. I love this film. I think it's great, but overall, the plot does feel a little generic. It feels a little too close to the original Jurassic Park for me, and it doesn't do too many things that are really crazy and different. The one thing I do love about this film is the Indominus Rex, though. I think they treated this new dinosaur, that idea of crossbreeding a T-Rex and a Velociraptor together is awesome. Like, great idea. I don't know, love that. I love the whole sequence in the glass ball ride thing with the kids. The whole kids plot line I think is great. I think both Ty Simpkins and I can't remember the other kid's name, both of them are great. That whole plot line is amazing. Would not change a thing there. Really well written. The final fight too is really good. I really love this final fight with the Indominus Rex, the T-Rex, and the Velociraptor, and then twist ending, the Mosasaur. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. I love that whole fight scene's so fun to me. One other thing about Jurassic World though that really brings it down for me, really bogs this one down, is Chris Pratt, man. Like, listen, I see a lot of people ragging on him on the internet all the time. I actually really like Chris Pratt. I fell in love with him when we were watching like Parks and Rec and all that as a kid, and I've always thought he was really funny. I was so excited when he was like became Star-Lord and all that, and I think he's great as Star-Lord. Some people think it's a little too different from the comic book portrayal, but I like it. It's good. I just have never cared for his character in these movies. I just don't think he can play like the manly man all that well, and that's no reflection on who Chris Pratt is as a human being, not at all. But I just don't think I don't know if he was the best choice for this role. I like Chris Pratt, but he's very flat here, and it just, I don't know, I don't love his performance in any of the Jurassic World films, really. He's better in Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, but especially in this one, just do not care for his performance. Bryce Dallas Howard is amazing, though. I love her. She's a great lead. She kills it. But yeah, Chris Pratt, my one problem. I still really like Jurassic World, though. Like I said, I love the homages to Jurassic Park, too. That whole sequence that takes place in Jurassic Park is so cool. Don't touch that. That's expensive. You know what scene I'm talking about, baby. Nice. Good stuff. Talking about our fourth pick now is Jurassic World Dominion. I surprisingly like this the best out of any of the Jurassic World films. I don't know. I genuinely think that opposed to Fallen Kingdom, which is maybe the worst portrayal of legacy characters, Dominion is the opposite. This is maybe the best the best return for legacy characters like ever across the board of all these requels. And you're talking to the biggest Scream fan ever, pretty much. I love Scream, the new Scream movie a lot. I really like how they handled the legacy characters, even though I know a lot of people disagree. That's okay, though. Jurassic World Dominion, I feel like handles it the absolute #1 best with across the board, with even like the character of Dotson too. How they villainize him in this new movie is just so well written and so cool to me. I love the biggest thing, though, obviously, is the fact that Alan and Ellie are together again. My God. Listen, I'm not the kind of guy to get all crazy and bubbly inside about romances, but this was the one thing that I've always felt was so... I can't believe they just left it at where they did in Jurassic Park 3, and I'm so glad they finally did something with it in this new movie. God, I've never been so happy to see two characters kiss on screen. I'm sorry, I'll get over the sappy stuff, but man, I was like jumping up and down in the theater. That made me so happy. That elevated this film to #1. That alone. But there are other things about this film that are also really great. Yes, it may have a very clunky first act that loosely sets up everything in the film, but it's good enough. It is good enough. The whole Locusts plot line with Ellie and trying to like sneak into the whole the facility and all that. I love that whole plot line. That's really smart. Much more it's very unexpected for a Jurassic World film. I mean, these films have always been very smart, but I didn't think they would get like geopolitical, which is something surprising. Another thing I want to talk about is the overall concept, which a lot of people have a problem with. And I think a lot of people were expecting when they saw Battle of Big Rock, which is not on this list. I kind of grouped that in with this film, like, because they even use footage from it in Jurassic World Dominion. A lot of people were expecting the whole film to be about like a globe-trotting plot about dinosaurs all over the world. And this movie really isn't that. Like, yes, kind of in the first act a little bit, but it's, like I said, very clunky and loosely put together. This movie is kind of another Jurassic Park film to some people, and I understand that. I totally get that if you feel that way, if you were disappointed about not seeing that. But think about how weird and crazy that plot line would be about a globe-trotting, like think about that, going all over the world with dinosaurs. I just feel like that would be really clumsy and clunky. I think I like this concept overall more, and I fell in love with it the more this movie went on. The whole idea of having a nature preserve filled with dinosaurs and all that. I like that idea because it's kind of the same thing as Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, but it's done in a totally different light, and it has different kinds of subplots here. So I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I think this is definitely the best Jurassic World film, even though I'm sure some will disagree. Coming in third place is The Lost World from 1997, which is probably actually the most controversial pick on this entire list. There is some absolutely silly plot stuff throughout, but I still really enjoy it. I think it has some of the best scenes in the entire franchise, if I'm being honest. There is some really, like, just amazing sequences with the dinosaurs. You have, like, the two T-Rexes pushing that trailer off the cliff, and, like, they're hanging in the balance as the thing just, like, falls past them. That's so cool to me. I love that. There's some of the best sequences in the entire franchise. I mean, that's so awesome to me. I love when they're underneath the waterfall and the T-Rex is poking its head in and all that, and it eats one of them. I can't remember who right off the top of my head, but I do really like that too. There's, like I said, some of the best sequences here. We have some silly plot stuff though, because we have this Jeff Goldblum's daughter's character is like an acrobat or something, and she kicks a velociraptor in the face, and it's the most goofy thing I may have ever seen. There's just too many, like, that's just way too convenient of a plot point, I think, and to have her, like, beating up a bunch of velociraptors, like, that's just so goofy to me. Like, what? Like, these were the big bad, besides the T-Rex, in the last film, and now they're just like, you just have this little girl just beating them up. I don't know, man. It's a little goofy to me. I've never really liked that part of the movie. It really takes me out of the realism of these films. It's also a little bit clunky too. You have a lot more characters in this film than you do in the last movie, and it really muddies it up a little bit. It's much more of an action plot line than anything, I think. There's also just, I don't know, there's just a lot of stupid character decisions in The Lost World, which is why I put it at third, below the other two Jurassic Park movies. I don't know. I think the ending really makes up for it again. I love the third act a lot. The T-Rex run through the city and all that in San Fran. I think it's great. I think it's very funny. Once again, another thing that could come off as goofy to some people, but I really just enjoy it. It's very fun. The kid looking out the window telling his parents like, "Oh, there's a monster in the backyard" and all that. And then it's just a giant T-Rex, which is, there's something so funny about that to me. I really enjoyed the third act of this movie. You kind of gotta chug through some of the other scenes, but like I said, there really is, like, this is the best. This movie showcases the best and the worst of the entire franchise. I think that's really the best way to describe The Lost World. I still really like it. It's still definitely top 3 Jurassic Park movie for sure. But coming in second place is Jurassic Park 3, which I'm sure some people will strongly disagree with, and that's fine. Leave it in the comments. What do you guys, what is your ranking? Put that in the comments below. I want to know how you guys feel about these movies. But I love Jurassic Park 3. It's the one that I come back to the most. And opposed to all of the other films I've talked about so far, Jurassic Park 3, I feel like, has the most compelling sequel story. And I know, once again, this is something I know a lot of people will disagree with. I know you're probably already writing something in the comments. You're like, what? Like, no, it doesn't. It's so simple. It's so, it's just, it's Alan Grant having to go to an island to go help somebody's kid. But that's what's great about it. Every other Jurassic Park or Jurassic World film besides the original is either you're either a film like Jurassic World, where you're just straight up copying the plot of Jurassic Park but modernizing it, or it's too overcomplicated. Like Lost World, Dominion, and Fallen Kingdom get a little too complicated, a little too big for their britches. And I think I appreciate Jurassic Park 3 the most because it's such a simple story, but you're still on an island, you're following Alan Grant, and you're trying to find somebody's kid. It's not the craziest thing to follow. It's really not, but I think that's what I really appreciate about it. You don't need to tell these big, ridiculous, crazy stories to match how big and crazy and ridiculous these dinosaurs are. I think a simple story actually serves this movie a lot in a lot of different cases. You can showcase a new kind of dinosaur, the Spinosaurus, which is arguably my favorite dinosaur across any of these movies. It's so scary. It's so cool. I love the ringtone that plays every time it's near. I don't know. There's so many. It's a cool little motif. It's good. It's a little silly, but because they play it so many times and they incorporate it with the Spinosaurus, it's scary because of that. The more it plays. The plane sequence is also like a top 3 dinosaur sequence throughout all these movies for me personally. I think that's so scary to have a Spinosaurus try to eat you out of a plane. I don't know. That's just a really cool little scene. Really good stuff. The one thing that I actually already talked about is Ellie and Alan being divorced now. I don't like, the only reason they put that in this movie is for the Deus Ex Machina ending, which I don't love. That's probably my biggest problem with this movie, is how Deus Ex Machina the ending is. Like, I don't know. I do think it's funny when you have Ellie's child saying, "Oh, it's the dinosaur man," and he's watching Barney on the TV and all that, and then she's like screaming and freaking out. Actually a pretty good scene, but it leads to just Deus Ex Machina ending because they didn't know how to end this movie, to be completely honest. But I love all the characters. I love the plot lines about like stealing the velociraptor eggs, the pterodactyls. That whole sequence is great. This is a solid movie and definitely my favorite sequel out of all of them. even though, yes, it does have some really goofy moments. The Velociraptor dream sequence is pretty dumb. I'll give you that. That's a pretty dumb scene, but it's still my favorite sequel. I love it. It's the movie I honestly, besides the first Jurassic Park, it's the movie I come back to the most from this franchise. But obviously, in first place, I feel like this has got to be unanimous with people, is Jurassic Park #1. It's easily the best movie in this franchise. The special effects are groundbreaking for the time. It's what made it something so special, was the fact that T-Rex scene especially, I think, holds up to this day. It's still one of the best sequences of special effects I have ever seen. I mean, it's just so impressive. It's so well done. It's executed so well. The rain, it's like super creepy and dark. The water rumbling, I don't know. It's so iconic. It's so well done. I love it so much. There's more to love about this movie, though, than just the special effects that are so great. Like, you get that scene, for instance, with Alan Grant and Ellie when they're looking at those dinosaurs, and yes, it's the first time you really see the dinosaurs in this film, and it looks so good. Those Bronchiosauruses those digital effects they still hold up today. It's awesome. But then, what I think I love about Jurassic Park the most is the scenes that follow that. You have Ellie and Alan, and they're learning about how they made the dinosaurs and all that, and then they immediately question if this is morally sound or not. They ask John, they're like, dude, have you ever considered the fact that maybe you shouldn't have done this? Like, you're kind of playing God here. You have Ian Malcolm talking about chaos theory, and how, like, if something is going to go wrong, it probably will go wrong, and all that. I mean, I totally butchered that, but I love that aspect to this, because you didn't need that. You don't need those dramatic scenes to make this movie. You could have just had a cool dinosaur flick with a bunch of cool dinosaurs that were like, oh wow, these are great special effects. You could have just done that. But the fact that we also implemented these really smart aspects of it, that of course was totally taken from Crichton's novel, I love it. I love it so much. There's one of my favorite sequences in any movie ever. Like, one of my favorite bits of drama in any film ever is the whole flea circus monologue you get from John Hammond, where he's talking about, like, oh, we used to go see the flea circus, and the kids would be like, oh, you can see the fleas and all that. He talks about that. He's like, I wanted to create something that was real, and there was no illusion. It was a real thing. And Ellie Sattler corrects him and tells him, he's like, the illusion is the fact that you thought you had control over this place. You can't control genetic power. I think Ian Malcolm has a line earlier where he says, you've wielded genetic power like your dad, like a son holding his dad's gun, something along those lines. I love that line. I think it's just such a well-written movie. That whole concept of morality and that whole, you can talk, there's a deeper question there than just the face value, ooh, oh cool, dinosaurs. Because as a kid, you appreciate that aspect of it, but as an adult, I've come to appreciate the other aspects of it. When you look deeper into this movie, it's really a smart film. I don't know, I love this film so much. It's so well done. All the characters across the board are all very well written, and I've probably talked your ear off about them already, but I love this film so much. It's easily one of the greatest films ever made, maybe top 5 of all time for me personally. I don't know. It's something so special, and it's something we may never get again because of how special it is. There's so many iconic lines, so many iconic scenes and sequences. I don't know. It's seriously a masterpiece of a film, an 11 out of 10 very easily. I love it so much. But I'm gonna stop geeking out about Jurassic Park and ask you guys, what do you think about this ranking? How would you rank these movies? Obviously, everyone feels differently, so please put it down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this crazy ranking video, and as always, I hope you kill it out there, y'all.